Audio Jungle.
Tension within the royal family remains rife as new claims from an unauthorized biography of the Sussexes cause a stir. The book Finding Freedom, written by Omid Scobie and Carolyn Durand, is being updated with new information from the beginning of this year. The Sussexes have distanced themselves from the book and made it clear its authors, who rely on unnamed sources, do not speak on their behalf. The unauthorized biography includes details around Harry and Meghan's interview with Oprah Winfrey in March, as well as the couple's heartbreak after Prince Philip's passing. The biography claims, however, that members of the royal family were quietly pleased that the Duchess of Sussex missed Philip's funeral because they feared she would create a spectacle if she attended. This isn't the first time rumors of royal rifts have emerged surrounding the attention Meghan gets from fans and other royal observers. In March last year, reports from the Daily Mirror claimed there had been a fallout between Camilla Parker Bowles and Meghan. The Duchess of Sussex allegedly broke an understanding not to overshadow a long-planned speech by Camilla on domestic violence. Meghan posted photos of her at a theatre as the Duchess of Cornwall gave her address. Camilla was said to be very upset. One well-placed insider said, "Camilla's work is very important to her and her decision to highlight the scourge of domestic violence at the 10th negation anniversary of Women of the World was a carefully thought-out plan. Over the last 4 years she has worked tirelessly, mostly behind the scenes but to great effect, to use her negation platform and personal experiences to highlight the issue and help sufferers." Of course it was known Harry and Meghan would be doing engagements this week, some privately, but everyone was in agreement that Camilla's speech should take negation precedence. Unfortunately some people had other ideas. Camilla's speech was nonetheless praised after she discussed domestic violence and started a new social media campaign. The Duchess of Cornwall said at the time, "As a somewhat ancient technophobe, is not always familiar with some of the jargon younger people use today, but I do know about hashtags. And now I am using my very first one, negation hashtag everyone's problem. Domestic abuse is everyone's problem and the solution must be too. I find it almost impossible to think any friend of mine might be living under that horrific threat, without my knowing it, but that is the power of negation, coercive control and violence in the home. It is characterized by silence. Silence from those that suffer, silence from those around them, and silence from those who perpetrate abuse. This silence is corrosive. It leaves women, children and men carrying the burden of shame. It prevents them from speaking out about the abuse and it prevents them from getting help. And at its worst it can be fatal." Meghan and Harry also share a passion for helping women in need of help due to domestic violence. In February, contributed to the disaster relief efforts in Texas after the southern state was hit by a deadly storm. Among their donations, they sent cash to the Genesis Women's Shelter and Support, a charity that has been helping survivors of domestic violence for over 35 years. The charity was forced to close after the ceiling and pipes at its transition housing unit were shattered by the storm. The life-saving service, which provides emergency accommodation to over 650 women and children every year, has now been forced to find alternative accommodation for its residents. On the other hand, Prince Charles has optioned to make Prince William King can't see Camilla as Queen. Prince Charles, 72, is first in line to the throne when the Queen dies but has been facing calls to let Prince William to take over as head of state. The Prince of Wales, who has been first in line to the throne for more than 7 decades, is the oldest heir apparent in British history. Royal expert Stuart Pearce has explained how Charles could step aside and let the Duke of Cambridge take his place. Mr. Pearce said, "We know the position he is about to inherit. It's going to be very interesting to see if Prince Charles will sit in the throne or will he create some form of a shift in constitutional law to allow his son to sit in the throne. That's going to be very interesting. At the moment the right of ascendancy is Charles on the throne but I don't necessarily see Queen Camilla." He added, "Constitutional law could be revoked and changed because after all we're living in extraordinary times. It comes as Charles has been stepping into the Queen's shoes since her 95th birthday." Speaking to Palace Confidential, royal commentator Richard Eden said, "Palace officials have been very keen to play down the idea of a summit Charles has called with Prince William to plot the future. But they will be having lots of conversations. When the Queen is 95, by definition it will be a transition of some effect. Charles will be with her at all those big events such as the state opening of Parliament." While royal editor Robert Jobson has explained how Charles has been doing a lot of the heavy lifting the past few years as the Queen can't be expected to continue at the same pace. Mr. Jobson said, "He is certainly the longest-serving heir to the throne. I'm sure he will continue to do so if the Queen wants to continue in that role." I'm sure there is enough scope if she wanted to step aside for him to become Prince Regent, and that she can enjoy her retirement like the Duke of Edinburgh has from the age of 96 if she wants to. But otherwise, in the Prince of Wales transition over the past 10 to 15 years, he has been taking on more of the responsibilities of the Queen. He does most of the heavy lifting in terms of long-haul flights representing the Queen, and is supported by Prince William and the Duchess of Cambridge as well. I think there has been a transition, and you can expect Her Majesty to continue at the same pace as she has the last 86 years. Whether there is a formal handing over of that executive power in terms of the regency is still up in the air, but the Prince of Wales will obviously continue to do more and more.